Okay,
5:30.
thank you for your patience. This is the
I came early.
January meeting of the Southampton Village Planning Board. Tonight, we will be having a joint work session and public meeting. We've already sort of run through most of the issues, so the work session is pretty much already been accomplished. So this will be the regularly scheduled meeting that we're about to open. Could I have a motion to open the meeting?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. First item on the agenda is the Village of Southampton, 151 Windmill Lane, new ambulance center. This is a continuation of the public hearing. At the previous public hearing, there was comments made from the public and also by Mayor Epley regarding this application. I would like to offer the opportunity for the mayor and anyone else to continue that discussion.
Mr. Chairman, board members, thank you for the opportunity to come here again tonight to talk about this. There was an email that was sent, and we said we'd explore. Somebody had made a suggestion about 31 different opportunities to place the barn elsewhere in the village. We explored all of those properties. They're either parkland that was donated to the village in reference to subdivision, lands that are restricted by wetlands, or lands that were purchased with community preservation funds. This, as we discussed before, this property is in the village in the village business district. It meets zoning requirements there. The other discussion was in reference to traffic issues on Windmill Lane. We met with the architect and the team, which includes a member of the ambulance service, who's also a traffic engineer who works for the Village of Southampton, Ron Hill. We're looking at ways to try to mitigate some of the traffic issues, and the issues really are the actuators that you can place on the lights, and at what point in time do you hit the switch on that actuator, which would actually impact 3 lights in the area, would impact the light at Windmill and North City Road, would impact the light at Jagger and North Main or Main Street, and then also the one at Windmill and Nugent, and which would actually allow the road on Windmill Lane to clear and give ample time for the ambulance to access either north, south, or east approach from the site. So that's what we worked on. There's no alternative sites. There was a bond passed on this in October 31st of 2014, which approved by the voters. As I had stated before, and I also got confirmation from Rick DePietris, the village attorney, it's a village-owned property. It's a municipal project, a village-owned building. We're here really to get feedback from people. I felt we got some good feedback from the public last time, and I appreciate the neighbors' comments, and gave us an opportunity to go out and do some research. This is the best site. The site plan itself is probably the most effective place in the village to place the ambulance. So that's really, I don't know if you had any comments or questions for me in reference to this. Hoping to close this this process tonight with you guys. So let's get some comments from the audience. So I'll sit and.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does anyone in the audience wish to address this issue?
Okay. So I mean, it's I'd like to actually close the public session now, and resolve this and take the steps forward. We're close to getting to the point where we're finalizing the final building itself and the layout. potential bids and stuff.
Thank you.
So we're making a motion
Well,
to,
Honorable Mayor, I wasn't here for the last session. I hear you gave a great speech.
I don't know about
Sorry I
that,
missed
so.
it. I didn't get to Channel 22. Sorry, Charlie, I didn't get to hear the speech. Council isn't here.
Right.
When this first came up, I guess I feel constrained to say that for this particular board and our duties, I asked council why we were hearing it, because I've been advised that other boards had deliberated with council and said that it was because it is a preeminently the responsibility and the right decision by the village trustees, it isn't for us lesser appellate folks, because it's really somewhere between none of our business, and if we're in the process, respectfully, we are somewhere between irrelevant and too late, because it congeals other people's interests for a lot of stuff that may be ours. I think Ricky Fowler has done an extraordinary job with the organization. I've toured the facilities several times, including with you, which was, thank you very much. It was great to see it all. I haven't been able to do research. I think myself, from what little I've determined, that given the population, village, hospital, and increasing number of old folks living out here, many of whom I know, that a 7-bay ambulance barn may make us the single finest facility in New York State, and that's probably pretty good for any of my friends who need to get to the emergency room either here or at the college if it ever goes there. So on the merits,
Well, it's actually
We
not
need it.
it's not a 7-bay ambulance.
well, may not be, the application which was rejected after hearing it by the Architectural Review Board, which I attended, the architects said it was 7 bays, but, so maybe they've changed it,
No, it's technically, it's
whatever they're doing.
it's 3 bays and 2 of them are double bays. So.
Whatever they're doing.
I just want to, whatever's on,
those are the
I
facts.
want it,
But the facts are,
corrected.
the facts are, for all these 65 current volunteers to get trained and do it and have it, all of it makes sense. As far as the location goes, I don't think it's for us to say, because it's not our business. It's the citizens' business for the trustees to decide. And I'm worried that if things get assigned to this board, which we don't get it all cleared up, we're gonna be asked to speak on a whole lot of stuff which ought to be none of our business. Having said that, fine. The matter rests.
I would respectfully disagree with you on that, and that the presentation is a courtesy presentation to get feedback not only from the planning board, but also from the local residents in reference to the site itself. So I think there have been some good things that have come out of this. The siting of the facility is one. You've got comments in reference to the parking lot. There's been comments in reference to traffic on Windmill Lane and how we can even exploring other opportunities within the village, which I think was a good process itself to look at that. So I think there's been some valuable pieces. It's following protocol from prior municipal projects. I know the police station came in front of the planning board. The fire department building on Hampton Road came in front of the planning board, which some very positive comments and decisions were made because of feedback from that. So I think it's an important process, and I don't think it minimizes the value of this board in this process.
Well, I agree. It's nice to be useful. That's fine. But I just,
Yeah.
before the vote and to get it out broadly would have made your decision a lot better than we could do, even by this audience. So I understand. I'm not mad at anybody. I think it's fine, but I just don't think the board should get involved in it, because we can't do much. We have very little to say on traffic studies, even for development, so it's a double-edged sword for us.
Well,
That's all. But for the
feedback
other
is
stuff we're
important.
supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
it's a double-edged sword. So,
But I think the feedback has been very valuable to the process.
Okay.
That's my own personal opinion. and I think the village board members also.
Good. You want me to talk to
Mr. Mayor,
the-
one of the requests of some of the people who are concerned about the ambulance center location was the advisability of actually doing a traffic study. Would the village have an objection to that? Is that,
I don't really have an objection to that. The issue, speaking with our traffic engineer on that, is that, you know, when you hit the actuators and they line the lights up, the idea is to clear off Windmill Lane. So the study has to be done at what point in time would you hit that button?
I drove
So,
along the street, they're just trying to check out the situation with the parking, and at some point in time, as you approach the Stop and Shop, there is no parking allowed, and I couldn't really even determine myself where the signs stop to say, okay, now you can park, but at this time of
Well,
year,
they-
nobody's parking there anyway.
well, on Windmill Lane from basically La Carrezza north, there's no parking there. So the only issue really is the parking of the trucks at Stop and Shop. And so I know that in the not too distant future, I think they have plans on expansion of that site somehow. And I think that would be part of the discussion as to where the deliveries are, you know, and then, so and you really can't, those deliveries could happen anytime, you know, and so, I mean, there's an opportunity for us to talk to them about coming in earlier when there's less traffic on the road. But, you know, the real positive piece is the ability of the emergency responders to control the lights to actually clear the traffic out, which is something that you,
The lights, it's bad independently, you know that. But in the evening, the state's use of the tobacco light runs all the way past the police station in the summer, a couple of times an evening. The light by the great counsel behind you, by his office, by the Bennett counsel, that light is a 45-second light.
Yeah,
And
but
most
it's-
times a day,
but when
it
you-
produces traffic,
yeah,
so
but when you hit the actuator,
if we're gonna start to change the lights,
it's,
I'm
no,
all
no, no,
for it.
it's not changing lights. It's not changing lights. All you do is an emergency vehicle, and they have it on fire trucks and everything, is that it actually controls the lights to allow a green light in the direction in which the light's going. So
That'd be-
everything that they have
That'd be
timed,
fabulous.
they have everything. I heard
We use
about
it
one
every
in your
day at
car.
5, and every day
So-
when we go to the police department, I mean, the fire department, or the
But
post
that's,
office,
but
it'd be
that's the
great.
idea. The idea is at what point in time do you hit the
I know.
actuator, is that as you're pulling out of the barn, is it when the doors actually go up, which actually will send a signal out to change the lights so that the only green light that you would see would be the green light that is on Windmill Lane going to North Sea Road. Everything else would be red, and it would allow the clearing out of Windmill Lane.
Hey,
So it's
I'm
not some
all
button
for it.
that sits in the ambulance barn, it's in the actual vehicle, and if the vehicle
Yeah.
turns right, it just
They
does
run,
the
they
lights
run the
going
traffic,
that way.
they run the traffic, good.
So that's the idea, to clear the road out, and they do this with fire departments. We have, all of our trucks in the village are set up that same way in the village fire department to actually have a control over
Like a good football broken field runner.
There
You
you
can
go.
clear the lineman out. I understand that, but it's just, the density is the thing
Uh,
that's caught everyone's, you know it, come on, that's where the density is the thing that's caught everyone's attention. And, you know, if Ricky's driving the truck, it's fine. If it's a rookie, you know, we'll learn. It'll be fine.
well, they all have to be certified drivers, so.
I understand.
I was thinking about the traffic since the last meeting, and I was actually in my store, you know, on Job's Lane, and ambulance was going down Job's Lane. I sort of thought to myself, well, that won't happen anymore. And all of a sudden I thought, wait a second, that's going to the hospital.
Right.
So half the traffic is still going to be going to the hospital, and it
That's
doesn't
right.
matter where the ambulance barn
That's
is,
right.
it's going to the hospital.
Just a detail.
Most of those are Hampton-based.
Right.
mean, it's just, I mean, the location of the hospital is the location of the hospital, and it, the Meeting House Lane site, it's a very difficult site to get on it, in and out of.
Hans Wope's gift to the village. I remember when we built it. I've only been there 50 times. Come on, it's a great spot. Thank you for the Presbyterian Church.
There you go. But, yeah.
Well, thanks, Mr. Mayor. While you were speaking, I noticed Mr. Yankee
Okay.
has arrived, and I know this is a subject that he's interested in, so I want to give him the
Okay,
opportunity
that's fine.
to
Yeah.
address the board. Mr. Yankee, did you want to make?
Oh, that's not Mr. Yankee.
Our architect.
That's Rick. Get up and say it looks great.
He hasn't come in.
No. He sent a letter, I think,
He sent a
today.
letter, it says in the letter he's going to be here, but he's not here, so that said he's not here.
So I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and adjourn for all purposes the 151 Windmill Lane application.
Second the motion. I'll second the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The second matter for public hearing is the AAMEE at 233, 245, and 249 North Sea Road. This is public hearing regarding the application. There is a memorandum that has been prepared regarding this application by Nelson Pope and Voorhees.
2106, this one here. I assume that Pam's not coming? Okay. This is 2106.
Hello, Linda Riley, 235 Hampton Road for the applicant. I've just handed up the affidavit of mailing and the affidavit of posting. I have with me tonight Steve Naroda from Arias Design, who amended the landscaping plan that you saw last time. It was delivered to all the board members, I think, at the end of last week. And he's brought with him today a color rendering of that same amended landscape plan that was passed out to all of you. I also have with me today Brenda Simmons, who is the executive director of the African American Museum. And Randy Conquest is here also. He was the last owner of the barber shop that is being converted into this museum. The property is at 245 North Sea Road, as you know, and it's an assemblage of 3 tax lots put together. One is a vacant lot on the corner of Hillcrest that's owned by the village. The one in the middle is the former barber shop, which was purchased with Peconic funds, Peconic Community Preservation Funds, so it's jointly owned by the village and the town. And then there's the one on the far end next to the Suffolk County National Bank premises, which was recently deeded as a gift to the village for this very purpose, to be included as part of the museum property. You also have in your packet a revised site plan from Squires, Holden Smith and Weisenbacher, which was delivered last week to the building department for you to look at in advance. And it was also transmitted to Nelson Pope and Voorhees to look at. We have, the plan is, and you've seen already the plans that were submitted by CMAX Sammy, who was not able to come tonight. The plan is to reconstruct the existing building, which is in extreme disrepair, for use as a museum and a research study center. It's going to have exactly the same footprint, the building itself, and there'll be no increase in the gross floor area at all. It's the same building, it just needs to be reconstructed because it's in such serious disrepair. Much of the funding is for the reconstruction, for the construction is coming from the Peconic Community Preservation Funds as well, because this was designated as a landmark by the ARB of this town in December of 2010. So it's going to be a sort of village, not-for-profit partnership with an arrangement similar to the Southampton Historical Museum. The new building will have some additional appendages that are necessary to bring it up to modern times, notably an access ramp for handicapped access and a small deck in the back to provide access for handicapped people from the parking area. There's also proposed to be a slight extension of the basement out toward the front lot line with some skylights barely above grade into the basement area alone, just to provide some natural light into the basement. The basement is not going to be used as a gathering place. It's not a place where the general population would go for any reason, but it will be used for storage of archival matters, archival storage, and other kinds of storage as well. And there was no other way to bring natural light into that area. It's located in the OD zone, where a museum is a permitted use. And most of the first floor area you saw in the plans, I think, at the work session, is going to be taken up with the center stairwell, which is going to remain where it is, a reception desk, and a handicapped accessible bathroom. It'll have a few desks, a few computer stations. There'll be one employee there, only at times when the museum is open. And the plans pretty well show, I think, how the space is going to be utilized. We've already gotten approval from the Suffolk County Department of Health Services. And now turning to the site plan, more specifically, which is your interest. The site plan, I just want to remind you that the site currently has 0 parking spaces on it. It has no parking spaces in it. It never had any parking on site the whole time it was used as a barber shop. The museum is planning to put in 7 spaces, 2 for handicapped and 5 along the back. Given that there'll be a special emphasis here on providing research facilities for youth, it's likely that a good number of people who do frequent the center will come from the surrounding neighborhood, possibly on foot, as opposed to driving to the parking lot. But the lot is small, and there's a tension between green space and parking area, and we think we've done the best we can to provide adequate parking for the proposed use and some amount of adequate green space to soften that corner at the corner of Hillcrest and North Sea as well. There are no significant natural environmental features on this lot to be concerned about. Really, the significance of this lot is historical and cultural, as opposed to having any kind of natural resources or environmental significance. We don't propose any outdoor lighting except for one exterior lamp, like a sconce lamp, at the back entrance and the front entrance. The facade is going to pretty much duplicate the existing facade. And we thought that signage could be submitted as part of the ARB review, which is required because there's a certificate of appropriateness that's involved here. We changed the drainage specifications since the first meeting to address some of the comments that we heard at the work session. The trench drain, the proposed trench drain has been taken out and eliminated, and instead we're proposing 2 traditional catch basins near the exit onto North Sea Road. It's going to be entry only on Hillcrest and exit only on North Sea Road. And we also separated, you can see it more clearly on the site plan that was revised by Squires than you can here. The proposed drainage, it was two drainage right together on that corner, and they've been separated out, which was another comment that was made at the last work session. And it was also raised that we should consider the drainage on or around the curb cut on Hillcrest, the new curb cut on Hillcrest. And we did, Tim Rumpf of Areas Design spoke to Gary Gillespie. I think Brenda did also. And as I understand it, he went out and looked at it and thought that the existing drainage on Hillcrest was adequate, for what's proposed here. So we have proposed no new drainage structures on the Hillcrest Avenue side, because Gary Gillespie seems to think it's sufficient. Other than that, we've proposed a 5-foot buffer between the only residential neighbor, which is the neighbor to the west. It'll be planted with holly, evergreen, so that it's a sort of year-round buffer. It's a 5-foot buffer as opposed to the 10-foot buffer that you usually like to see. But again, there's that tension between the reconstructing a pre-existing non-conforming building on its existing footprint and providing the parking. As it is, the parking spaces are a little tight, maybe a little smaller than you want to see. And we had originally proposed having the spaces butt up against the property line. But at the work session, it was pretty much agreed that it would be preferable to see some buffer along the residential property line. So now what we're showing is a 5-foot buffer along the residential property line, and the spaces that you see on the landscape plan and the revised site plan. And I think that's all I wanted to say in my presentation. I'm happy to listen to any members of the public who want to speak, or if you have any questions.
It looks routine, except if people come in trucks, I gather the parking is below whatever the village code says. You try to squeeze it in, obviously,
Well,
both ways.
Yeah, I mean,
Squeezed
there
both
was
ways.
this was a commercial site, and there was no parking on it before. There aren't likely to be trucks.
If you drove a truck, you had long hair, I'm sure, but no, it's just we're gonna have visitors come much,
Yeah.
and they come in anything that resembles the trucks that
Oh, I
even
see.
jam Main Street today, because people driving around trucks are popular. There's
You mean
some-
like pickup trucks?
You bet, trucks. Not
understand.
delivery, local, driving around trucks. It really crowds it up. You can't get up and down Main Street very well today without driving on the yellow line. So it's just, if it's gonna work for you, but our consultant noted that it's, for what the village now wants for all this stuff, you're squeezing it in. As you said nicely, you've got
Yeah.
neighbor on one side and the handicap on the other, you gotta squeeze it in.
Right. We're trying to accommodate as best as possible all these interests.
Do we know what the required parking is?
You mean, well, yeah, I did calculate that at one time. But your code offers grandfathering for pre-existing non-conforming uses and sites. So,
We don't,
It was 8.5 if you include the full storage area in the basement.
Right.
So actually, they're doing very well.
Oh, no,
for
that part's
the
good.
first floor, which is going to be where most of the visitors come. But,
this is a 770 square foot space.
Right, my thought is, do
It's
you
not going to
even need
fit
that
too many
many?
people.
Do you even need that many?
Well, we've got that many, we're happy to provide that many, and at times, they may all get used. But it's such a small space, interior space, 770 square feet, that there really isn't room for large gatherings of people. It just, anyway, the difference between 8.5 and 7 is minimal.
And a case could be made for some of the basement being used for storage and not being
Or,
used
you
for
know,
space, so
Well, what about the dimensions of the parking spots?
they're just they're very tight and, when you actually
Nine-
measure
9
the
by
dimensions,
19
you
versus
can't
8 by
measure
14.
from
That point.
that point, so.
I mean, there may be room to make these spaces wider, so they're not 8 feet wide, but 9 feet wide, which would help. You're going to lose either a green island or a dumpster. I mean, there'll be less green space.
I
It
think
won't
the
be
eight's okay, but the length of it, you're measuring 18.5 feet from the point of the angle, but when the car goes in, the car has to stop on the short side on the left, so it's really technically only going to be 14 feet. And that's why I said, do you even need them? Because maybe you could just parallel them. And because I think if you have a car in there and it'll stick out, you might have an issue with the driveway access. Although it is only one way. Do we
is one way.
need 16 feet for one way? Is that just a fire requirement?
Which is what the code says, that's all. It's just the code,
Yeah, you need.
Or is it
you
14
need-
feet
I
for
think
the-
you need more than that.
19. The code says 19 by 9.
For fire? Oh, no, that's for the parking spot itself. I'm talking about,
Parking space.
I'm talking about here, like when your car goes
The turn,
in,
we're talking about the turn.
when your car goes in, the car
It only goes to
the car
there.
can only go to here.
I know.
So it's gonna be out like this. So that really takes the 16 feet and drops it
18.
down to
It
maybe
says 18, the
12.
code says 18 in section 3 on the diagonal.
18.
For the length, no, I'm talking about the clearance. I'm talking about this clearance,
The aisle.
this aisle clearance.
That's right, and, oh no, I'm just talking about the size of
Yeah,
the lot
yeah.
itself. For that side?
Right.
Hey, it'd be great. Get
But
all
it is
the
only
parking
one
you
way.
can.
I mean, they can.
It's green land.
I mean, if they
Do it in
can
grass,
show-
don't pave
I mean,
it.
part of this is that the
It'll be
planning board,
nice.
I'm sorry. Part of this is that the planning board doesn't have the authority to grant the variances for,
Right, so if it's grandfathered, then technically they don't need any parking
That's true.
spaces, and they can do,
Yeah.
so it's what works best is really, they should really compare as far
Yeah.
as, how does this actually work for, moving cars in and out of here?
Right.
So,
I mean, that's what we've been trying to juggle with, what works best.
right.
Trying to, knowing that the building the foundation for the building is what it is, where it is, and, we've already persuaded, the property next door to literally donate the land as a gift to provide those other spaces and room for the sanitary system. There's just no place else to go. I mean, we could eliminate some of this landscaping on this side, maybe.
There's a 50 parallel park on both sides coming in.
Zero.
Two and three, just-
right,
Better than none.
right.
You want 2 or 3 spaces
What if you
here
want-
instead
what
of
if you
the
put-
5?
Yeah, instead of.
That's what I'm thinking, only because,
Steve
Yeah.
said, do 2 there and do 2 on the right.
because if you draw a car in there, it's really gonna stick out past where you're showing it's 18 feet, but it's really only 14 feet. But if you do 2 that way,
2
you
on
might
the
be able
other
to get
side.
one this way,
Which way?
2 on the either side, Steve.
this way onto that grass area.
2 here?
Yeah,
One,
going
two.
the long way.
Well,
I mean, my question to you for
yeah.
how many is required was more, how many do you think are gonna be, how many cars do you think are gonna be in here at one point? Is it gonna be 2 or 3, or is it gonna be 8?
Well, it's mostly going to be, 2 or 3. I mean, there could be an occasion, certainly, when there are more.
You probably have some space there, and when you need more, you might have to jiggle things around a little bit. But to me, when you have 0 to start with, anything that is adding is better than
Better.
what you
Right.
got
It's better.
now.
And if you put 2 in parallel park this way, you'll end up with at least something that, you're not gonna have a car sticking out into the driveway, because have a problem. I think it really comes down to like whether or not there's a fire access number, because if it's 14 feet wide, then you can actually make all those spots a little bit bigger, and just cramp your aisle down, just as long as somebody can get through.
Kathy, in your review, you talked about the potential need for a topographic survey, also whether or not a photometric plan would be necessary. After listening to Ms. Riley's presentation, do you feel you need those things or no?
Just the topographic survey makes sense just because you want this drainage to work, right? So.
Well, he's got the
I would
four,
say yes.
he has the four corners. He's got 35, 33, and
Yeah,
32 at the front.
The elevations are spotted on the four corners of the
And it's
site
pretty
plan.
flat. I mean, it's flat, it just
It's very
kind of,
flat.
it kind of tilts downhill a little bit.
Yeah.
And the lights, the lights are required by the building code. You need to
I
have,
wouldn't require it
Right.
based on
Yeah.
what I've heard
Just-
tonight. Yeah, right. So it goes from, I mean, I have the topo on this map that's in the memo also, and you can see, even in the memo, it's very shallow,
This site flows into Klamath.
slight grade down. I mean, I spoke with Bob Smith, he said that he had it scheduled already, so,
The topo?
yeah.
Well, he did have it scheduled. I asked him to do it. It didn't get done yet.
Okay.
But, you know, it's also expensive to do.
Yeah.
And we're
I
trying,
guess they could do field.
we're trying
Yeah,
to,
it-
Field modification.
yeah. I mean,
Are you
it's a
you're
flat site.
comfortable?
You have a little bit of pitch from west to east, and that's the way they're shooting the water, so.
And south, it flows.
I don't see it.
Steve, it flows
Well, this is
into-
gonna go this is gonna well, it's gonna go down
When it
Hillcrest.
rains, it flows into the Klamath.
Right, from Hillcrest.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
It's right down that way.
But this site
into Lake
itself,
Agawam.
this site itself, when they do the parking lot, they can
Right
pitch
down.
it. They've
Well,
got 2 feet to pitch it. It's plenty.
yeah, there's going to be drainage in the parking lot. And there's, you know,
Make a lot of grass.
there are very limited funds here. This is,
Yeah. Go look at my driveway, you can make grass instead of paving, it's fabulous.
Steve is an engineer, as you know, so if you're comfortable with that and want to make that recommendation to waive that requirement.
Mhm.
At this point, could I ask if anybody else in the audience would like to address the board regarding this application?
And
And I am just excited to be at this place, finally. And I also want to just give our mission statement. And our mission is to promote an understanding and appreciation of African American culture by creating programs that will preserve the past, encourage learning, and enhance the life of the community. Our museum will research and collect local history, produce media events, create exhibits and community celebrations. We will treasure the past, tend to the present, and transform the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where'd it go? Would anyone else like to make a comment?
Well, since my name has been called, I'll come forth. It'll take me a little while, because I'm not a youngster. But I had the barber shop there for 27 years. And not only myself, but before me, Mr. Seymour, I believe he opened that shop around somewhere in the 50s. So it goes back quite a ways in this community and serves the black community. And not only my shop served everybody, regardless of who you are, I can cut your hair, anybody's hair. But I'd just like to say I spent a lot of time in that place. I appreciate Brenda's effort for bringing this forward to be represented as part of the culture, not only the black culture, but the white culture, all culture. That's all I have to say.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Where did people park when they got their hair cut?
At that time,
Everybody walked.
well, see, the configuration of the village was entirely different.
I know, yeah.
That center aisle wasn't there,
Nope.
you understand? And I guess, going back to Mr. Seymour's time, I guess it was considered the outskirts of town.
Okay.
You understand?
Oh, yeah, I sure do.
So
I
we
just
were
want-
tucked away in that corner, but as time passed, so many things have changed.
well, people-
You guys, you've been here long enough to realize that.
Yep. Well, people park out on the road. Thank you.
So, I'm not sure where we are with the parking. No one from the building department or any, I do have a variance application in for a front yard setback for the extended basement. Nobody has told me that yet, anyway, that any variance relief is required for the parking. But I'm,
Enough of the parking, I don't think.
Why don't I check
Yeah.
into it just to make sure that because it's, a change of use, that we don't have to, request a relief on that?
I'll check into it, because I already
Okay.
have an application in.
Okay,
I'll call John tomorrow,
okay.
Foster.
And the transitional buffer as well?
Yep.
Okay.
But then it sort of begs the question, if they're not requiring me to apply for, if I haven't been asked to apply for variance relief, and if I am, of course, I want to ask for the minimum relief necessary,
Right.
notwithstanding how many cars we expect or don't expect, so I'm a little unclear of how we've left it with the parking.
My view is if they grandfather zero, anything else they produce is gravy, so it's, as long as you have something that flows correctly, if there's 2 spots or if there's 4 spots and the aisle's a little narrower, then,
So you're more concerned with really the aisle than,
well, only because I think the way it's drawn,
Right.
the way it's dimensioned, I think the car's gonna stick out past it, so you have a 18-foot aisle, so really, I think when a car parks here, you're gonna have maybe a 16 or a 15-foot aisle, but I think that'll work, I think that'll function. I just wanna make sure, like, the fire department doesn't have an issue with that aisle on getting a truck in there, if they have to get a truck in there. But I don't think there's a parking issue, I think there's really just
of course, if there's a fire, the trucks are going to go,
they'll probably be right in the street, right?
they don't care. I mean,
Yeah,
they'll
they'll probably be right in
they'll
the
go right up here, too, off of North Sea Road. I mean,
Right.
and it is a flat site with,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think they're going to let somebody's pickup truck stop them.
Mhm.
But I understand your concern. So I guess we'll take a look at that.
I think I can ask for a motion to close the public hearing, though.
So moved.
Okay.
Like a second?
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Thank you.
We have a couple of tennis courts, 136 Bishop Lane. We actually have already voted on and approved. I think Kathy, am I right in that?
That's the last meeting.
And I have I already signed that resolution.
The written decision is in the file now.
A written decision in the file, 291 Great Plains Road. We have a decision that needs to be voted on. It conforms to the required setback, the total allowable coverage, the landscaping is consistent to standard. Landscape is provided, the survey, so affirmative vote for this resolution would approve the site plan application of 291 Great Plains Road for the construction of a tennis court. May I have a motion to vote on this application?
So moved.
All in favor?
Seconded? Aye.
I'm wondering, this
Tennis
is a
court.
tennis court
Yeah,
application?
the second one.
You know, that's
291 Great Plains Road.
60 by 120.
Mm-hmm. Facing the right way.
What is the dimension of the tennis court?
60 by 120.
Just for the record, who voted aye?
All of us.
All of us.
Always with objection. If you're not playing tennis, don't put it in. Okay? We're paving the village.
Okay.
Crazy.
Next. Subdivision review the Village of Southampton, 185 Windmill Lane. This is a new application requesting a lot line
Did
modification.
we approve that one?
We just did that.
2104?
Yep.
Yeah. There's gonna be no land there, it's just gonna be paved.
Well, I have the same information you have, is that there's a map in the file that shows a transfer of land from one lot to another, to create, to make lot one larger. So I don't know what the reasoning behind it is, so maybe.
Mr. Bennett, are you the applicant?
Ah.
No.
The,
Oh, Mr. Mayor.
Purpose of the lot line modification is the Department of Health for septic for the new site, and that's it.
Which one is this?
We are discussing 185 Windmill Lane, which is a new application, which you, I don't even know if you've got a file in there.
Well, we gotta, Pam knows how to do this, but it doesn't look like a file here yet.
I don't know who submitted this.
And this is lot 1 owned by the village and lot 2 owned by the village?
Both lots owned by the village, just,
This is the same property
As the ambulance.
Yeah.
Why
And the ambulance is going on lot 1?
are we
Yes.
doing it?
The ambulance is, well, the original lot, the ambulance originally is on lot 2, the building is. The modification is the property A, the shaded space in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and then it becomes part of lot number 1, which is that lot includes the dog park area. It was property that was given to the village, no restrictions on the deed. Merged the two lots together for the purpose of Department of Health meeting the requirements for septic on the site.
So that's why we're doing it.
That's the
To get
purpose behind
for the
it, yeah.
Department of Health.
Yes, Department of Health.
Because it's not, we're not gonna take Ricky Fowler Public or something like that.
We're not,
This
we're
is
not.
just for the Department of Health.
Yeah, no.
Good, gotta keep the
All that
priorities, gotta get the priorities lined up.
Yeah.
So it's basically to give you enough lot area to meet Department of Health
Department of Health
requirements.
standards for septic.
Yeah.
Is that the
I
ambulance?
would waive
This is where the
the
emphasis
public
is
hearing
gonna
requirement on this.
Yeah, I still don't think,
So,
if we need to do it, I'll
So look, it's
I'll
gonna
move the
remain-
lot line be moved.
I'll have to deal with my wife and
Right,
the
right,
dog
right.
park and Warren on the dog park.
I understand, I'm
So they're basically just
just checking on
rearranging the lot
the
lines.
That's all.
That's the,
Okay.
So Mr. Mc,
I'll move the lot line be moved for
our
purposes
consultant
of the
has
village.
recommended we waive the need for a public hearing. I have a motion from Mr. McFarland to
Second,
do
Are
this.
you guys gonna consider the additional canine F1
we have already.
as a result of the
Mhm.
dog?
It runs downhill.
That goes to the shopping center.
All in favor?
does everybody say aye?
Aye.
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 Next applicant right here.
Goes uphill from there, toward the sanitation department.
On this
Kathy
page,
will-
it runs down
will
the
come.
page. Runs down.
Will Bo need,
Just give it
will you
back
write a
I'll
resolution
write
for
a
that?
resolution for waiving the public hearing, but I think we should just, we'll review it and
Mhm.
put it forth the
Right.
next.
Mhm.
Because that has to be official, because, we'll get Bo here. It runs uphill to the sanitation department that's going up on the top of the hill, if we do that one.
Runs actually north of Windmill Lane, 212
Runs up,
Windmill Lane.
runs up.
Maybe it's bovine. You're probably thinking of it.
We're now at OIA Associates, which is pending decision. Council is not here. There is no decision yet rendered.
OIA isn't floating around here.
It's floating around.
Okay.
Waiting for Bo to write the decision.
Yeah.
So make a motion at the request of the applicant to adjourn for all purposes the 212 Windmill Lane application.
Seconded.
All in favor of it?
Aye.
Aye.
Next application is 550 and 554 Hill Street. We are still awaiting further information from the applicant to do the environmental impact.
Yeah, they're revising their environmental assessment and.
Did they send in a letter requesting it?
Yes, they did.
Make a motion at the request of the applicant to adjourn for all purposes the 550, 554 Hill Street application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Site plan review, the Chabad of Southampton has submitted an application regarding their gate.
I can do a memo for the next meeting, but it meets the setback requirements and consistent with the old site plan approval, so I think this is ready to go forward. I don't think we need to have a public hearing on this.
No, I mean,
So,
plus it's already been built.
it's been built.
Oh, no, they just complying with the prior commitment that they made, which they forgot to comply with.
Right.
So I guess it's an amended site plan approval is what needs to be prepared.
You'll do that?
I'll talk to Bo, but yeah.
Bo's got to do it. Bo's been dealing with them forever
So
to
let's-
amend the site plan.
Let's make a motion to adjourn this until the next meeting, pending the preparation of the resolution to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Crease Properties at 16 Windmill Lane. Kathy, you prepared a resolution regarding this application?
Yes.
2066.
There's a resolution in the file. If you could summarize the resolution, I appreciate it.
Sure. The resolution discusses what the application is. That originally it was for rebuilding the building on this site, but that has since been changed to reconstruction within the footprint and renovating the existing structure in the front. We reviewed several iterations of the plan, went back and forth on the fees and so forth. We got input from the Superintendent of Public Works, who requested that there not be direct drainage to the drainage system, so that's been changed, and the site plan now conforms to that request. The fire marshal also reviewed it and had no problem with it. There's some feedback from the applicant on the Suffolk County Health Department on the fact that they have an existing CO, and since there's no change in uses on the property, they have no permit requirements. There was a public hearing on this matter on September 8th, and that was closed that was closed the following month because they were still modifying the plans. And then lastly, there was a seeker determination rendered at the December 7th public hearing. And I think that's all she wrote.
So an affirmative vote approves the application of Crease Properties. May I have a motion to vote on this resolution?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Hamer, aye?
Yes. There's an aye.
Who did the motion? Sorry.
I moved his motion.
Yeah.
Or this one.
Grease is gone.
Mhm.
Okay. ROB LLC, 477 First Neck Lane.
Evening.
Good evening, Mr. Bennett.
ROB.
This is pretty straightforward. This is a lot line, I'm sorry, excuse me. It's a flag situation, so you have to approve the driveway. You've already approved the driveway. This lot was originally serviced solely by this 20-foot flag strip. So you approved the driveway for that access using the 20-foot flag strip. And what I'm showing you is the existing approval. Okay, and then subsequent to the existing approval, the applicant required an additional 30 feet to the north. From Mr. Picture. 30 feet running from First Neck Lane all the way to the back of the Melcher property on Captain's Neck. I think that was, years ago, that was the Wallace property, the Melcher property.
This is, it now looks like, it looks like it was a road of 80 years ago.
Yeah, this road was, this
There's
strip,
substantial growth on it, yeah.
It was a flag, and now it's a
wider
flag
flag.
becoming,
Now it's a wider
now it's
flag.
becoming a real road.
now it's becoming a wider flag. But really what happened, the only thing that you're seeing here is, this is the original approval, it should be in your packet, and there was pivot on the south of the original 20-foot strip, and then there was pivot in the middle. Pivot in the middle's coming out, and what that allows is for the driveway to meander
In the
in the
new
now,
wider
in the
strip.
now 50-foot,
50,
This was the
meandering
original
50-foot
approval?
flag,
50-foot flag.
With the skinny flag.
which
They
I was told
acquired
was a road
much
that
more
used to go
property.
over to Cooper's.
It makes all the
across-
sense in the world, because
Across the
that was
wetlands.
the old Wallace property, I don't
And
know.
now they have
Yes, I know, I remember hearing that.
Very, very long time ago, and James Wallace. I think
straddles the
was
old
his name.
line.
And he used to, they
There's
used to be,
some
Mr. and Mrs. Wallace
electric cords
used to
here.
be able to drive,
So they acquired
probably
that.
more likely walk, because it was wetlands back there, from their
There's
property on
wetlands
Cooper's
between that and
Neck
Cooper's.
all the way to First
We already
Neck.
approved
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
Meltzer not having the need to do that,
We got more-
sold to my client that strip of 30 feet by probably, it's, I don't know, it's 30 feet by
Yeah.
probably 1,000 feet for the bargain price of $2 million.
Do you have any idea, John, when this was originally approved?
Last year,
This was-
wasn't it?
I think we have it in
Either
the,
last year or,
Was it called the same thing? No.
same thing,
yeah.
yeah. What so this site, Rob, which is now under construction,
But they
this
they didn't
site
call it Rob, they called it
Yeah.
this
is Real
something
Estate
real-
Organization
shouldn't-
Belgique.
Right.
Oh, okay, all right.
Thus ROB. But anyway, this site was originally serviced just by this 20-foot
Yeah.
flag. Now the owner acquired this 30 feet, which actually enables a much, I think, like on that, obviously, pretty straightforward, a nicer approach, and it meanders through. So it's still only the one driveway, even though it's on a much wider spot. The driveway was acquired, the additional 30 feet was acquired not only to be able to have this better, more stately approach, but it also allowed for a now approved addition to the north because of the setbacks were, picked up some setback from the property to the north.
Oh, so the property is just the flag lot, it goes all the way to the back?
Goes
All the way-
all the way to the
Oh, okay.
Phragmites
All
of
the
the
way to
north end of
Phragmites.
Cooper's
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
exactly. At the west end of the property, goes all the way
Right.
through.
The old road used to go across the north end of Cooper's Pond.
That's right.
There was a bridge
It's
there.
already been
That's
approved as a narrow
From Gowan
flag
Bridge to the
with a
south.
public hearing and everything.
Here?
Mhm, right here.
We didn't do a public hearing on it.
On the first one?
We
Or
did
77
because of
first
the
one.
lot line modification.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right, that's right.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know if, did you do one for the actual, it would have been two separate applications, the one would have been for the actual.
Yeah, we
All the way
did-
down the end on the
we
right-hand
did
side.
do one for the,
Yeah.
for the
So,
site plan approval for landscaping for a flag.
so they
Because you're
had,
building, so
they
the principal
acquired
structure gets to
this
go
much
further
more.
north then, because you've got.
Got to go
all the
further
lot.
north,
Here's the-
towards,
here's the
nice people in the world,
so the property goes from here to here. They got
Machine,
another
I forget who's
30,
Was
which.
it in, did they plant it?
called
yet?
Don
which
Calder.
mostly gave them
Oh, Don's told me
the
he's too old
required
to
setback here,
not
so they didn't
take,
have
to
to go
take this
for that.
seriously.
Okay.
Yeah,
The nicest people in the world.
These are,
got
I
it.
think these are
Do you know if
Absolutely.
they planted it yet?
principal structure.
They
But this
planted
must be
this
new.
pivot. Planted the pivot along
The
the,
one in
along
the
the,
middle, or
yeah.
on the south?
And the one in the middle,
No, no, this
One
is just
principal.
the
coming out.
structure, same thing, this is one house here, storage building,
So
garage,
they haven't moved it yet.
and then this might
No.
be connected with this playhouse.
I don't
and
think so,
gym.
well, I don't know, to be honest.
I remembered that there were gonna be three
So it's two
rows
lots.
originally.
The nice thing about this also is it doesn't, it did, because the driveway meandered, one or two of these very large evergreen trees that were gonna come down, we can save. So that's all good.
These structures existing?
These here?
Yeah, these principal
They're under
structure,
construction.
what's that?
They're
They're under construction now.
All pursuant
Okay.
to zoning board of appeals, wetlands approvals. You're right, there's that swamp.
And did they cleared this driveway?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's Cooper's, it's Cooper's
gated?
pond.
Can I get in there or no?
You can go down and
Make
look
an
at it. You know what there is? There's a chain.
These are under construction now.
Well,
Yeah, they have
It's under
permits.
construction,
And they're
it's under
huge. Big piece of
construction
property.
5 days.
I gotta drive down.
Yeah, you can tell it's all cleared. This
But I would
area's all
think,
cleared already.
I hope I'm not being presumptuous, I think it's a much better plan. I don't think there's
I
any
think it is
need
too.
for a public hearing on this.
I don't think so either.
To
Well, that
widen
was
the
my
drive-
point. It was already approved as a
Yeah.
less good alternative.
Exactly.
Exactly.
A less good. Good,
The words out of my mouth.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
So adjourn pending decision, correct?
So
Is that what we
make a
do?
motion to,
Pending decision?
yeah,
I don't know.
and waive the public hearing.
If that's okay with you.
So I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks. Happy New Year, everyone.
That's Robbie.
Next item is Capital Telecom acquisitions.
2072.
And we have a decision prepared.
Telecom, yeah.
The last thing we have is a final letter from Richard Comey, the
Yes.
consultant on this, saying that they have, the tower was redesigned to meet the breaking point that he had requested. So he finds the design acceptable, so that's great. And
Yeah, you've done a lot of work on this that I didn't think was going to be called for. This is so it breaks best for the railroad.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's worried about the railroad.
yeah. So, Bo Robinson had prepared a resolution. I took a look at it, and that's ready to go.
Here,
With the one with the date change, because
I'll move it.
he used the wrong date on the bottom.
That's it, that's it.
But this is Jem Powell.
Yes.
And it's
Jen,
LLC. That's the owner of the
because
property.
They own the property, exactly.
Okay, so we have a resolution, having answered all questions, having gained the approval of the village consultant regarding the application, having had a public hearing and resolved any questions that the public may have, the resolution approves the application, and a positive vote it would be in favor of the approval. May I have a resolution, may I have a motion to vote on this resolution?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Happy New Year.
We know we need it. Let's, let's go.
Job's Lane Realty, 62 Job's Lane.
This is son of driver's seat, right?
Yes.
Sean Leonard, the architect for 62 Jobs Lane. I just received the staff report this afternoon, so I've read through that. What we're proposing is to add a handicap accessible ramp along the western side in the alleyway between that building and the one next door. So and that would actually then allow us access right into what would be the proposed retail space. The restaurant would be on the back portion of the building. That is already accessible. It's because right from the patio, you can go right into the
Parking lot.
restaurant and it's straight. There's no ramp necessary.
Would the ramp ascend from the street back or from the back to the front?
It would ascend from the street back, and that would be able to gain
So
access.
then there'd be like a little side entrance to the store
Correct. Just for handicap, we'd still, the front entrance of the building, the way you see it
Still would
today.
be the front
Would still be the front entrance. It would
just
not
be
change the way it looks.
Accessory entrance for handicap.
Exactly.
Just to the west side.
Just on the west side there in that alleyway. The alleyway is 9 feet in width, so we would just be losing 3 feet for the ramp on that one side.
And the access to the restaurant would be where?
The access to the restaurant, you can either go through the alleyway
On the left side?
on the west side, the same side that we're also putting the ramp.
Okay.
You can go all the way to the back and then
Or through the
you'd be able to-
Can't you go on the east side as well?
No.
You cannot, you can only, the only other way you'll be able to access it is from the south and then from the back village parking
Parking
lot.
lot.
And then you'd be able to walk.
Or can you buy clothes and go have a hamburger?
You could if you want to.
That's what I figured you were said, okay. 3 ways.
There were other things that needed to be addressed on the site plan there as far as the dumpster location to be shown. I will address all of those and get that onto the plan. But there's no change, other than the ramp, there's no change to the front entry as far as where the building looks. There's no change to the rear, there's no change to the patio. So the change that we're talking about is taking the space and creating about 900 square feet in the front for retail, and then I know you wanted the square footages on the back, and it's about 1,500 square feet, but I'll get those exact numbers to you for the restaurant. So we need that. We meet the 15-foot width as far as the minimum width required. I think it's a little bit more than that, as far as the width of the spaces.
Oh, okay.
So,
What about so who owns that property to the west?
the same
They own it.
owner.
Oh, good. It's, okay.
Yes.
So we don't need to get permission.
That's convenient.
Yep.
Okay. So you want to get that back in and adjourn until next month?
And then I guess at that point, with this, my only question I had was also, does it require a public?
I think we need to have a public hearing on this.
It's on Joe's Lane. Okay.
I only asked because there was no changes to the building, there was no change.
Yeah,
Okay. So we want to adjourn and schedule a public hearing for next month?
I mean, I think we have enough information to have a public hearing, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to wait. If we can get those plans in, we can have them, at least a week before the public hearing. So the public can review them if they want to.
Like I said, I reviewed the staff report. I
Yeah.
think the things you're asking for were they were minor.
Yeah,
So
okay,
that can be
good.
done fairly quickly.
And if you have any questions about that, the building code stuff with the bathrooms and stuff like that, ask Mike Russo in my office.
Sure. Not a problem. Is that something that the planning board is concerned with? Or is that more something I need to deal with on the building
Oh,
department?
it would be building code stuff, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So.
I just didn't know if that was something.
You may as well plan for it, though.
Yes,
It's,
absolutely.
in the community, it is a above-average, well-known building because of its historic use. And almost everybody who's been there for the last 30 years realizes that the bathrooms, from time to time, go underwater. And if you're not familiar with that, I'm just saying, hey, you're gonna have to solve it, because I don't think it's a problem, but that water's getting to be a real problem, so it keeps raising its head.
I will make a motion to adjourn for a public hearing,
Hearing at the next one, which is February something,
February 1st,
first.
on the 62 Jobs Lane application.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
And last but not least, the Southampton Hospital Association,
Groves Lane.
740 County Road.
Here's the,
The last one, the hospital.
this is the nice picture.
Oh, there comes the hospital.
Is that a file? Yeah, that's out here somewhere, I know.
This would be for your engineer, because you got the copies. So, you have a copy of a staff report.
Yes.
There are, I think, mostly very minor comments, and the engineer, Tom Dixon, has reviewed the plans and provided a markup copy. If you have any questions on those, you can call Tom Dixon directly at our office. But otherwise, I reviewed the, from a secret perspective, perspective, I reviewed we actually did a part 2 and there was no need to do a part 3, but we did a little description. The only potential impact has to do with water resources, and that's because they don't meet Article 6 without going to board of review. But there's sort of a catch-22, you can't go to board of review until you get a neg deck from the village. So I'm recommending that the neg deck be adopted now, and that be a condition of site plan approval, that they have to make sure that there's no impact to water resources, and that's under the health department's purview. So that's my recommendation. As far as the public hearing, I would say we should schedule that for February as well. And the other update is that because this is within 500 feet of the municipal boundary, it's subject to 239M or 239N, I can't remember which one. It has to go to Suffolk County Planning Commission for review. So I have that application prepared, and that will be sent out tomorrow.
Give me that again. In other words,
Suffolk
it's
County.
near enough the boundary of
It's within
the
500 feet.
village.
It's actually right
The
next to
town.
the town and a municipal boundary.
So when
So it needs to go to the county.
when it's a
planning
border,
commission.
then it moves up a jurisdiction.
They just have to review it.
I know.
It just
So then
kinda
it goes
helps,
to the Suffolk County.
yeah.
Okay.
And a letter also went to the town of Southampton Planning Administrator and for review by the town. And, they'll provide us comments by the next work session, so.
So this is my house we call the Carville Cancer Center. Right?
The what?
The Carville
Yes,
Cancer Center.
that's the one.
Okay.
That's how you identify it. It's the old Carvel store. Cancer
next
Center's
door.
going in right
Yeah.
behind it.
Oh,
right
it's in
next
the
to it.
barn.
Right there. That's good. Just you gotta find out where it is in the village.
Okay.
So we schedule it for the next meeting?
Mr. Bruin?
Good evening, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We did receive this report, and Mr. Gordiello is here from the Rayner Group. You might have a couple questions, maybe Kathy can help out on some of these, but he does realize that a number of the comments are picked up by the engineer, so we may have to contact him directly. As Kathy did indicate, though, we proceed at the health department without the seeker determination, so if that is going to be adopted tonight, that would be very helpful. Our understanding is that you would schedule the public hearing for your next meeting in February. And also, as indicated here, and as Kathy just indicated, we expect you to send the referrals out, and glad you're getting that done, to both the town and the planning commission. We have met with fire marshal, I'm assuming that you send all that currently as well. So, Jimmy, unless you have some questions for Kathy,
Mr. McFarland, you're on the microphone.
I'm on the microphone?
With your papers.
Charles, I'm sorry.
Good evening, members of the board. Ben Gordiello from the Rayner Group. Excuse my appearance today. I totally forgot that there was a planning board meeting, so
You look wintry.
I'm warm. I'll leave it at that. We have the engineering comments that came from Nelson Pope and Voorhees. We will contact them directly with respect to some of their comments. If I may just touch upon, just generally speak of what we're trying to do here. Some of the comments allude to traffic controls with respect to signage and stop signs and lines along those natures. From an engineering standpoint, I understand that. I'm just sharing with you, in going back to the other members of the design team, that we do not want this parking lot to look like a Walmart parking lot. I've already been reprimanded by my people for that. So by putting stop lines and stop signs and those types of traffic controls, and I have a copy of those plans in front of here, I understand why the comment is being raised, but I think that with respect to what we're trying to accomplish here with the site design, that some considerations be made with that. I think the parking lot is laid out in a manner that really there's not long straight runs where people are going to be gaining speed through this parking lot. So with that said, I will speak to the engineers directly and voice those concerns, or at least touch on a few of those. I don't know if the board had an opportunity to get a marked up copy of this plan. But if you look at sheet number C8, even to the extent of putting no parking signs and handicap access aisles. I don't know if that is a direct requirement of ADA, but the fact that you have these pavement markings there, that is a 12-inch painted stripe you're a bit redundant, in my opinion, to add a no parking sign in between two handicap parking stalls. I'm not saying I've never seen it. I question it at times, but I just, unless it's something that's codified, I think that the board may consider otherwise.
Okay.
Kathy, where are we with regard to SECRA?
Yeah, we have reviewed the EAF Part 1 and prepared a Part 2, which you have the only copy of, I believe, and prepared a narrative for the Part 3 and recommend that a neg deck be adopted. You should have that.
Is it attached to your,
The note in front.
Oh, here's Part 2.
Is it in the file?
you got it.
So that's a Part 2, and then the back is the Part 3 that you sign, the bottom of the Part 3.
So it's your recommendation that we proceed to adopt a negative declaration on this application? May I have a motion?
I will move that.
Do I have a second?
I will second that and add, we schedule a public hearing for February 1st to that motion. Or do you want to do one at a time?
Let's do one at a time.
So, seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so we adopt the negative declaration. Now the motion would be to schedule the public, to adjourn the application, schedule a public hearing for February
First.
1st.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. With regards to the traffic signs and everything, I'm willing to look at it as creatively as possible, as long as we don't have to do, as long as we're not saying anything against what code requires.
And we thought we provided crosswalks and stuff like that. Again, it's,
I kind of agree with Vin, because it basically you have two handicap spots and a little blue stripe line in between, and they want no parking on, and I think that, how wide is that stripe? I don't even think it's wide enough to get a car in, isn't it?
It's like 8 feet.
Okay,
Yeah.
Again,
Plus you have a handicap sign.
right.
Again, I'm not trying, I will contact the engineer and we'll go through these things.
Trying to make it look as country as you can,
And that's
basically.
what we're trying to do with the appearance of this building.
Mhm.
We're going to be required by the fire marshal, to put up proper signage along those lines. There is a comment in here that talks about fire apparatus and width of the pavement, where you exceed 30 feet. Again, we'll sit there and we'll study it and we'll make the pavement 2 feet wider.
Right.
And I will just, on that note, I did meet with the fire marshal prior to making these applications. I'm aware of the piece of equipment that needs to the apparatus that needs to circle this site, and based upon the alignments that I've provided at this point, that vehicle can make these turns. So, we'll address
Deal with the engineer.
engineer's comments and the fire marshal for that matter.
Good.
Nelson Pope has to deal with what goes on. If they want to tell us we should get rid of 50% of the stop signs in this village, it has my vote. Okay? It was a gift from one of our prior mayors that we stop
Kathy,
signs
you need
the
to
city
stop. Kath,
to the
you need
point
to
of
stop.
paralysis.
Was this for Roy?
Why don't we sign 2 of them?
So I'll vote
Keep
for
one in the
that.
file.
Sorry, it's upside down.
So we did just adjourn that, so now we come to the end of our meeting. We have minutes. I know, Alan, you gave your approval on.
Yeah, I put something on the internet on the one.
So we have minutes for November 2nd regular meeting, November 30th work session, and December 7th regular meeting. We have a motion to approve those en masse.
So moved.
Second them.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next meeting will be a work session, January 25th at 5 PM right here. With nothing further, can I have a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a second.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.